focusing.
Where are you? What are you doing? I was like, why? Like, I see a car here.
I also installed one of them 2 to 3 inches down.
Well,
From where the
I ran
roots
into my daughter's
grates here and
boyfriend.
there's some step on it.
I'm like, good looking young man.
Oh, yeah.
Laptop. I'm like,
Oh,
Connor? I know.
There's only so many flights back and forth.
we left.
Yeah. Great news to too. Yeah.
We open that Friday or that Saturday.
We're good, nobody on.
That's your call, I suppose.
I mean, they said it's Friday.
Doug, we best
You what?
just turn something down that looks like it's up.
Master. You did what?
I didn't, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but it was messed with.
Master.
We'll go with
It was an emergency situation, Doug.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everybody to the second meeting of May for the Mount Vernon City Council and call this meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is to see if there's any, to approve the agenda.
I would move to approve the amended agenda that we received at 3:04 p.m. on May 16th.
Thank you, Craig. Is there a second? Second. Paul. Moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda. And if we're ready to vote on that, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next part of the agenda is communications. If you wish to address the City Council on subjects pertaining to today's meeting agenda, please wait until that item on the agenda is reached. And I think I just found out that the agenda's in the back of the room, so you'll have to pay attention here. So if you wish to address the City Council on an item not on the agenda, just approach the microphone, give your name and address for the public record, and you've got 5 minutes. And I know, Gretchen, you want to do that, so Gretchen, you are up. Thank you. Just hit the button. It turns green.
I am Gretchen Ray Robinson, 218 for 7 Northeast in Mount Vernon. Thanks for letting me speak. First, my condolences for Monster. I didn't get a chance to come to any of the services, so I just wanted to express my condolences. Yeah. Second, these are all kind of connected. Well, maybe not the third one. So, would the city consider adding signage to 3rd Street Northeast / A Avenue? The A Avenue that comes down from the community center. That's a hill and swings around toward the skate park, and then from Highway 1 on 3rd Street Northeast, heading to the skate park. I don't know what the speed limit is there until I'm all the way around, almost past the skate park, and it's 25 miles an hour. So because there are children playing in that area, or people riding their bikes, or at the skate park, would it be possible to add some more signage, maybe one of those 25-mile-an-hour signages that says children playing or something, like earlier, like either the A Avenue area or right, that corner on 3rd Street and Highway 1. So that was the first one. The second one is similar to that because it involves a skate park. I'm really on the skate park right now. That garage across from the skate park, would the city consider transitioning that garage to more of a park area, which would require taking the garage down? It's kind of a big ask, but it would be kind of neat to add. Well, you've got the road going through when people are driving through, but the walkway is right there too. That, I don't know if you need that storage space for the city. Okay, and the last one is, would the city consider, this is more related to native prairie plants, the strip of grass along 7th Street Northeast that's right there across from the apartments, fixed income apartments, and then the ballpark. There's and then beautiful trees right there, and then the strip between the street, the trees is all grass. I thought, well, that could be an area for planting native plants, or if we're trying it over in the one area, and it's going to take a while to find out if that's going to get going or not. But then, so I thought it'd be kind of neat to, I don't know, raise awareness. I thought that's a very visible place in town. A lot of people are at ball games. towards the residential area than that fixed income housing area. Kind of like the idea of, you know, offering them some beautification and then there'd be less mowing. Just that one strip along there, maybe maybe next year we could, or between now and next year, we can consider a part of that, maybe working with the sustainability group and Eldon, who's, you know, been phenomenal through our other pilot program, we call the pilot program. So those are my items. Thank you for your consideration. Thanks,
Thank you, Gretchen.
Yep.
Gretchen.
Probably you.
It's the building that Gretchen referenced across from basically south of the skate park. Is that our building?
Yeah.
It is ours, okay.
It's the old ambulance.
Okay. Well,
I didn't know
I didn't know that either.
I have an office there at one
I
point.
don't think I did.
No.
No.
Different.
Now Further down.
Expense storage.
Oh, yeah,
Skate park.
I'm too far.
Yeah, I'm old.
Institutional knowledge there that you have,
Yeah.
Paul, you're not old. We're still in communications. Anybody else here to speak to anything that's not on the agenda? Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. We've got 6 items now on the consent agenda.
Now I know why we didn't get anything from Marcia this afternoon changing the consent agenda, because she's not here.
That was preordained and I signed off on that. Yeah, we're covered. Yep.
I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Scott?
Okay.
Mark. Scott and Mark. Consent agenda. It's been approved. We're ready to vote on it. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next is a public hearing on for the consideration of the City of Mount Vernon fiscal year 2025-2026 proposed annual budget. I can officially open the public hearing. Is anybody here to speak to that? On the proposed annual budget? I'll wait a minute and then we'll please proceed to the resolution. Hearing no comments, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we're going to go to G1. Item G1 is resolution for approval, 5/19/2025A, approving the City of Mount Vernon fiscal year 25-26 annual budget. Any comments from staff? We've been down this road once before, so.
No, this is actually the same budget that you approved last month. The state required us to re-adopt the budget with, due to an oversight on public hearing notices. Thankfully for us, it was fine. For North Liberty, not so much.
So,
So, yeah, nothing has changed.
With that, and having already discussed this, I would move approval of resolution 5/19/2025A.
Second.
Scott, Stephanie, moved and seconded to move forward, resolution 5/19/2025A, and that is a roll call vote. Lori?
Turler,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Engel,
Yes.
Andreessen,
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
And the resolution passes. Next one is resolution 5/19/2025B, directing sales of $2.5 million, general obligation capital loan notes, series 2025. And we have Maggie Spear. I'll let you do your introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm with Spear Financial, and we did hold our bond sale today. We had participation from Chris and Lori and Marcia as well. We did take bids this morning on the $2.5 million of general obligation capital loan notes, series 2025. We are recommending this evening that we would award to Northland Securities of Minneapolis, Minnesota at a true interest rate of 3.9315. Had you been on the bid opening with us, Northland they bettered their bid over and over, about 3 times. They're also going to give you a $13,000 premium, So we've seen premiums in the past, we saw one last year on your GO bonds. What that really means is they're giving you some money ahead to buy down the interest rate. So what they're doing is they want 4% interest rate coupons or interest rates on all of the maturities throughout the debt schedule. But they felt that the true interest rate needed to be somewhere in that high 3% range. So what they're doing is they're giving you some money ahead that buys that 4% down to that 3.9315. We did have 4 total bids. These are very similar bidders to what we had last year. And just for reference, we had 5 bids last year. That was about $4.8 million that you sold in GO debt. And that interest rate was a 3.70. So we're very happy that this one was only a 3.93. We have seen interest rates tick up in the bond market pretty significantly at the beginning of April. They came down part of that way. So again, to be only 23 basis point difference from what we saw last spring at this time to this time, we feel very confident that this is what we're seeing. We also know that based on all of the bond sales that we've done, which has been about 25 of them in the last month, this is the 4%, everybody's getting a 4% interest rate down. So we're again very happy with that. As part of the bond sale, we did go to S&P Global. If you'll remember, they are your rating agency. They did reaffirm you at that A+, which is the rating that was assigned last year. The outlook is stable. They talk about, and we've highlighted in our packet, some information about how your management is good, how you're getting good reporting on a regular basis as the council, how you budget very conservatively, that you're addressing your budget from a fact that you want to break even or possibly have some leftover reserves, which is very, very important to them. And I always point out that they always talk about what can lead to a downgrade if you deplenish those reserves. They're very they hold tight to cash. They think cash is very important for you guys to be, having cash for things that you're not expecting. They also don't want to ever see you using reserves for operational costs. They want to see those reserves that they're going to be used for capital improvements or capital purchases. So just we thank your administrative staff. They endure the 1-hour phone call to discuss all of this, and they provide a whole lot of information. So we thank everybody because they do a great job on that phone call. We do have that Mount Vernon Bank and Trust was part of Northland Securities bid today. So they did participate. We don't know exactly how much they'll take out of the deal, but they would be participating in that bid. The bond schedule itself will run from 2026 will be the first principal payment down to 2040. So we've got about a 15-year bond here. And the bonds will be callable, or you can redeem them anytime after about year 8 at 2032 or beyond. So if interest rates at 2032 are less than 4%, we're going to run some numbers for you and tell you if there's enough net savings to make it worth your while to refund them. If we get past 2032 and rates are still the same, and we get 5 years past that and rates drop, then we'll run them at that time. We just continue to run them every time we see rates adjusting in that lower fashion. But if at 2032 or beyond, the interest rates remain exactly the same, you'll just go ahead and keep paying those bonds as they are. There's nobody that can call that debt in on you. That is only your optional redemption to make a change to that debt service schedule. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
No questions, just again, thank you for the service Spear provides us. I know staff appreciates it, and certainly with my experience with Spear over the years, you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
On these, there isn't any penalty for paying them off early, is there?
The penalty, you just can't pay them off early before the 2032 date.
Okay, so that's what.
Yeah, that's the call date. You can pay them off, you can refund them, but at that point in time, there is no penalty to pay them off early. You will just make, and you can pay them in part or in full. So if you had some money ahead, you would pay them off. Obviously, we would tell you to pay them off from the bottom up if we were just making partials, because that eliminates that longest maturity out there, that most accrual of interest. But yeah.
Comments? Echo Paul's comments. Thank you for being a partner in this transaction again. We've been down this road with Spear Financial multiple times, and thank you for being here in person to for this presentation, and this is Rachel Street, right?
Yeah.
And
And this-
Yeah. So, key projects in Mount Vernon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I move approval of resolution 5-19-2025B, in the amount of $2.5 million for the bonds.
Paul, second, and Mark. Got a motion on the floor to approve resolution 5/19/2025B, and if we're ready to vote on that, that's a roll call vote, and it's up to Lori.
Andreessen?
Yes.
Turler?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
West?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
That resolution passes. Next one is resolution 5/19/2025C, approving the disposal of city-owned property.
We have, obviously some miscellaneous pool equipment, old chairs, things like that, that we would seek to get rid of, and then the Fit 3D unit that didn't pan out quite as well as we had hoped at the LBC. Animals is going to purchase some of the current deck chairs from us for their pool, so.
So what was the deal with Fit 3D? There just wasn't enough interest, Matt? or-
It changed from it was a purchase of the
Yeah,
machine,
I
and
remember.
then in the middle of the game, they changed it to a subscription.
Oh,
So it became a monthly cost that we had asked questions even before we got it, and then they sent us a letter, maybe 6 months after we had it, and said we are changing to a subscription service now. So if you want to continue to do this, you need to pay, I don't know, it was like $250 or something like that a month. We weren't planning on charging customers
right,
to redeem that back, so yeah, that's what happened.
okay. Understood. All right, I will move to approve resolution 5-19/2025C for the approval of disposal of city-owned property.
Thank you, second. Vinnie and Craig. It's moved and seconded to move forward with resolution 5/19/2025C. And if there are no further questions, we're ready to vote on that.
That's a question for my knowledge, sorry. Just, so like with those deck chairs and stuff, those animals that come and pick those up, or we don't have to deliver them?
No, they already came and got them.
Okay, perfect. Do you,
Today.
Let's hope this passes.
I mean, tomorrow.
Make for a really awkward phone
Yeah.
call.
They're still on somebody's truck, right?
Just saying.
yeah, I was just curious, thank you.
Any other embarrassing questions to ask?
Yeah. So, I'll keep my mouth shut.
You got a resolution on the floor, and if there are certainly no other questions, we're ready to vote on it. Lori, it's yours.
Engel?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Turler?
Yes.
West?
Yes.
Yes.
Some hesitation.
Right.
I'm sitting here sweating.
Resolution passes. Moving to motion for approval. Claims list. Seeking a motion to approve.
I will move approval of the claims list as presented.
Paul, is there a second?
Second.
Paul Scott. Moved and seconded to approve the claims list, and if there are no other questions, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and consideration of the audio and surveillance quote from 2024 pool improvements. Council action as needed.
RC Tech had the low quote at just under $10,000 for equipment for the new pool. Since we have slides, new diving boards, and obviously new equipment, felt the need to at least make sure that cameras have proven more than worthy at the LBC, so just a continuation.
In the same vein as the LBC will these be accessible to PD?
Correct.
They are working on a new platform for all of their future projects and hopefully bringing us up the systems that they have in place currently, City Hall and stuff, are kind of independent login and they're desktop based and they're a little bit clunky on user side to download video and get them. Their new ones are going to be more cloud based and web, so everybody will be able to sign into a link and go from there. So I'm looking forward to the new systems coming in and hopefully at some point transitioning the other one's into that better platform.
Thanks for the additional information.
Any other questions of staff?
Yes, I was just double checking too, because I know you've all done it, but is it true, like back in the past, like with indoor pools, especially, like having a camera in the pool would count as like surveillance, and they couldn't do that because of it constitute being like a lifeguard?
You can surveil you can have cameras in any public space,
Yeah.
any public open space. It's us protecting our property and
So
stuff like that as well. Audio is where you get limitations on what you can and can't record, and have to be part of the conversation or have it posted, different things from that perspective, but
Yeah, I was just curious if there's any lines there.
Good question. Any other comments or questions of staff?
If there aren't, I would move to approve the purchase of the audio and surveillance equipment for the Mount Vernon pool at $9,573.55.
Second.
Very good, Mark. Moved and seconded to move forward with the audio surveillance quote. And we're ready to vote on that motion. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next is discussion consideration of pay application number 1 on the uptown lighting improvement. $212,000.
Yeah, this is the application in the amount of $212,604.78. And if you've been uptown at all, you see the massive amount of work that they've put in the last 3 weeks.
I was fascinated by the preformed bases.
Oh my gosh.
8 feet long.
Yeah, I was like, is that like an armament or something? It was
I
really
said the
fascinating.
tornado comes in, just hold on to one of those, you'll be
Yeah.
fine.
So,
You're not going anywhere.
and I will also say that I really feel like they've done an excellent job of not disrupting traffic. You know,
They've been a
pedestrian.
great crew.
They really have
Great crew.
done a great job
Yeah.
in that. The only things I've heard were questions, what is that? So those are the questions I like to answer.
And then we think we have a use for the lights that are coming out, the ones that
The
work,
three
if they,
ones, yeah.
Nelson's done a good job, I think.
They've done
Transition.
fantastic. They're great
And
to work with.
I think I've heard or saw a date or whatever, but still comfortably before Heritage Days,
Mhm.
so good at that.
Yeah, they're still on track, so,
That sounds good.
yeah.
I would move approval of pay application number 1 for the uptown lighting in the amount of $212,604.78.
I will second.
All in seconding. Moved and seconded to move forward with the pay application number 1 on the uptown lighting project. And if we're ready to vote on it, no further questions. It's a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is discussion consideration of the retiree corporate guidelines, or Iowa Code 509A. Council action as needed.
So for individual employees, this is the law that changed this past year. Individual employees that reach retirement age, according to IFRS, Protect IFRS, or one of the other retirement systems, they are allowed, I want to call it an extended COBRA, but it's actually in lieu of COBRA, to stay on the city's health insurance plan at 100% premium payment of the former employee. The question is not, we have to offer that to existing employees, but the question is, that's in front of the council right now, is whether or not you want to extend that benefit to more than just the employee. So currently, it's just the employee. If the council is okay with it, the employee could elect employee spouse or employee family. Most do not, at that point when they're in retirement, don't have a family, but they do have an employee spouse. Again, the premium is paid by the employee, so it's really...
This way, the town.
No, I think the difference being that having not necessarily been with IGHCP and part of a larger group, as people age into the system, obviously the amount of care tends to typically increase. So you worry about your premium increase being in that 15 to 20% range. But now that we're part of IGHCP and we have over 6,000 members, that's less of a concern. So I'm good extending it to spouse and family should they choose to do that. It doesn't necessarily affect a ton of employees.
But you know what it does do is when somebody's looking to work for the city of Mount Vernon, it's one more thing that you can say that upon retirement, you and your family could still be covered with insurance if you are before the age of 65 and Medicaid and all that kind of stuff. So I would agree. I would say that it's just another positive benefit to offer our employees.
Not to be the Grinch on it, but just to ask the question. If at some future date we are no longer a part of the IGHC larger pool, would future councils have the option to rescind this benefit, or is this once it's in the books?
Yeah, it's not a guarantee.
Okay.
No, it's not as if you're putting this in a contract. It's just for those individual employees that are meeting that retirement age or deciding to retire, they would have that ability to opt in at that point. But any future council can reconsider.
So this is basically, it's on the books until someone
Essentially
decides
change the
it's not.
circumstances for the city.
Okay.
It's a policy.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Good question, Scott. Thank you for asking it. I didn't even think of that, so good job.
Unless there are other questions or concerns, I would move approval of the retiree corporate guidelines as outlined in the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded to move forward with the retiree corporate guidelines. And if there are no further questions, no other comments from staff, we're ready to vote on that. That is a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next we get into reports, beginning with the Vernon-Lisbon police report. Any questions of staff while we have them both here? Any comments?
Nothing too much additional from the police report. Our application period closed last Friday, and so we're processing through the applications we have. Currently, I think we have 7 or 8 total applications, I believe, at this point. So we'll do testing at the end of the month, and then on to the next steps from there.
Okay. So that process is continuing.
Yeah, and Jason and I will be at Chiefs Conference the next few days in Coralville.
How many positions are we hiring for?
We're hiring for one right now. If we get a decent list where we've got multiple candidates, we could use this list up to a year.
Okay.
So we can continue to pick off it if we need to.
Thank you.
Of course, as well, because we're going to be down this road sometime for the next couple of years. Yeah.
So Doug, I have a question about
Sure.
These collisions in Mount Vernon, especially the one on Second Avenue, Northwest in the 100 block. That is I remember talking about this in 2000, 2001 and whatnot.
And before.
One of the biggest things that I've seen is with the increase in size of some of our SUVs, our trucks, our vans, it's gotten even worse. And I would just like, safety to look at considering, my preferred at the time was to make that one way. I got a hard no by a lot of people from that. But could we consider making one side of the street, cars, compact vehicles only type of situation? I know a lot of the parking lots have their end spaces reserved for that. The number of times where, you have a spinal adjustment because you're slamming on the brakes because you're facing a head-on collision, it's just frightening.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't have more of these in terms of a head-on. And we get enough of them just with the rear-end collisions, which are thankfully are slow-moving, no injuries, but, and First Street puzzles me as well, why there seems to be a trend going up. Any thoughts?
Congestion, obviously, you've hit a lot of the problem areas, is the vehicles are bigger, people are going to park, and we go through this same conversation with business owners, like, please use, if the business owners would use the parking lots and let their customers use the streets and stuff like that too, that would help decrease some of that congestion. Different avenues from there. Second Avenue is a tricky one because it's the top of a hill, it's a difficult location. You have high curbs there as well on that side of it. So, parallel parking would open up that Lane Avenue. When there's angle parking on both sides, it is extremely tight to get through there at all times, and then there's always
I
bottlenecks.
didn't think about that, but if we make, for example, the west side parallel.
Well,
You're going to gain some space.
Yeah.
Would this be included in the streetscape?
I don't believe it's part of that right now, is it?
It would be,
I'm trying to envision, we're not talking about right outside here.
We are, right behind the wall here.
Well, then it would.
So
It would be part of the
Yeah.
streetscape.
they discussed it there in A Avenue.
They're not changing the parking.
No.
well, so could it be part of the streetscape? Yes.
That's what they're asking.
Has it been included in the plan?
No.
Yes. Would it normally be part of the overall project? No. So,
But just by improving the lighting, the curbs, the bricks area there, and changing the parking format a tad, is gonna have some impact. It could be positive.
Yeah, I
Hopefully,
mean-
it won't be as any worse than it is.
the streetscape plan brings in ADA compliance with sidewalks. It also incorporates traffic soothing methodology into the improvements.
But that's on First
Yeah, but-
Street.
Correct, but so that could be extended to the side streets. It may not, it'll be up to the council at the time when the project is actually bid. But, that particular street, if we were to likely change one side of the street to parallel parking and leave one side at angle, it's just narrow.
Yeah.
There really isn't a lot of room to maneuver, and there isn't a lot of room when somebody's coming up the hill, somebody's coming down the hill, to get out of each other's pathway. So, I think, generally speaking, we continue to look at that street in particular. I can tell you, the pressure on our parking lot has increased dramatically over the last 8 months.
Well, and it's interesting because the south side only has angle parking on the east side of the street. So there's incongruency there. And I know the need for parking uptown, so I'm not advocating eliminating parking there, but a modification such as, and I didn't even think of parallel parking, genius, that's why you're in the job you are and I'm not. Or also going something with, compacts only or something to that.
Compact Suburbans.
I was just gonna say compact F-250.
That is an oxymoron.
You would lose,
Compact, no, and you can still do it.
you would lose 2 to 3 spots.
Yep.
So, to me, to improve traffic flow and safety, I believe that would be worth giving up 2 spots.
Yeah, we can shoot it over to Dave just to have him take a look at it quick, kind of
I
cursory.
appreciate that.
Or with those 4 spots at the top of the hill, make them compactable.
That's what I was wondering.
So here's the only challenge that I would say, I understand where you're going with the compact only, but the reality of trying to enforce that.
So there was, I don't know if it's still there or not, but the very first spot in front of Bauman's was a compact only for a period of time. Not very successful from that standpoint either. So I also caution to those because Everybody's got their own version of compact, especially when it's the only parking space left. All of a sudden, their vehicle got a lot smaller.
You've got reservations at the point.
Yeah.
Well, we are talking about Second Avenue Northwest here.
Yeah.
Correct. So, I mean, to me, the more problems occur when you're coming up that hill, coming up this hill here, coming from the westbound traffic as opposed to the eastbound, because you can more easily see the people who are coming eastbound. It's the people going westbound that you have the most trouble with. So if you maneuver, change that to parallel parking in front of City Hall, to me, it doesn't do as much.
Not in front of City Hall.
It'd be beside the
Laundromat.
Oh, beside that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you would at
Gotcha.
least have a little bit more space as you're coming south.
Yeah,
And so then also as that western
yeah.
traffic
Okay.
is turning, you're at a much better
Yeah.
for everybody.
Now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, I
Gotcha. Thank
appreciate you
you.
bringing it up, because I travel Second Avenue to Hertz and back every day. And you have to anticipate that as you're going up there.
And I only happen to live on Second Avenue
Yeah.
Northwest. So I'm a little bit partial to the issues of that.
It's a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, I remember early on in my career here, we had a discussion about the intersection of First and Second Ave. And we can have Dave take a look at it. Just like I said, my assumption is you lose 2 to 3. But we can have BK take a look at it real quick. But that's really the only answer. Is probably making the west side parallel.
You couldn't really do the east side because you're going against that high curve.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can have them take a look at it and bring it back to you.
Thank you.
In this police report, we've gotten into a lot of parking spots and so on discussion. Is there any possibility of acting on the space south of Liberty Iron Works that I think we've approved of, but we've not done any construction there? And it's only 4 or 5 spots, and it's a block away from this problem area. But I don't know if that made the project list for the summer, because I know it's another concrete.
No, it hasn't yet. It's kind of
Getting good at
one of those weather-related, if we can make it work. I think priority for Public Works right now is the trail completed. We do have a power street, we could look at completing that, but with caution saying that we'll get to it this summer, it's a possibility, but.
Don't want to forget about it. I know it's
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah, and then is there a plan to put, just a sign up to make sure that it's clear to people who are driving around, perhaps looking, and that there is parking for the public in that spot, so we'll get that up when we can.
Any other questions for Officer Blanks and Chief Shannon while we have them here? Thank you very much for your data and your report.
Thank you.
Eldon sent us his Public Works report this afternoon. Any questions or comments about that? Got a lot of projects going on, put it mildly. Reminding you of others.
What are you doing with all your spare time?
Yeah, I feel really bad about getting that report in late. Well, I
You
have
built a land bridge in this one. You were busy enough.
And then tore it down, it's like right out of World War I.
Well, the thing was, I had it all typed up Friday, and I went to print it and realized that I didn't switch the date. So I closed it out, and I closed everything out. So I lost the entire report. So I got the okay from Chris to retype that this morning.
Yeah. Are you sure you want to?
Sure.
Wait, don't
We're
you
at
have
97,
recovery?
so what
Do you have recovery?
Only when you save.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Oh, and if you want me to, I'll come show you how to set up autosave.
I see the little button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
no, you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Sorry, I
No
couldn't deal
worries.
with that, no.
Thank you for your report, Eldon, and
You bet.
catch Eldon before this meeting, because he mentioned one of the projects, and that is pouring concrete for the Inner Trail. There's a lot of county interest in that project, and I asked him when he started it to let me know so we could let the Sun know, and also Lake County Trails Association was very interested in the start of that project, so I'll let them know when we got the seedling quarter mile or whatever it is going there. So. Thank you, Eldon.
You bet.
Parks and Rec report, Mr. Sanders is here.
I think the only one, I don't necessarily want to add to Matt's report per se, but I did send an email notification to council today that the pool will not in fact open this weekend. It will open on the 31st instead. On a positive light, we had staff training there this weekend, and some things came to light before we open to the general public, which is great. They're going to make those corrections. Bad news is I want to give us enough time to be able to go back in and make sure it's safe for everybody. So, and it's, to be honest with you, I think of all 3 days,
The weather's not supposed to be very nice this weekend.
So,
Well,
Yeah.
with everything that has been done out there, if it's just a week's delay, we're gonna call it a victory.
no,
I mean,
it
seriously, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
looks awesome. We've been there just about every day, it feels like.
My grandkids are very excited.
Oh, yeah, I got someone at work
Standing
saying,
on
is
the
it true that they're getting a new slide? My son told me this.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are excited.
Yeah, 4 and 5-year-olds.
And I said, yep, you can go drive down and see it. So, yep,
I do.
a week in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I do have a question, Matt. Any progress on the park?
Yes, it was presented to Park and Rec Board last month,
Excellent.
and it'll be coming to, what did we say, the first? June? Yeah,
Thank you.
first
What was
meeting in
that,
June.
Paul?
The inventory.
Oh, yes.
Matt, you referenced the sound system, and I know you lobbied for that in a tent at the Heritage, or Truck the Walk days. Any chance of it getting into a budget soon for you? I mean, are you sharing a sound system with anybody that?
So I have had conversations with those that would have the most knowledge of what would be the greatest asset for us, Mr. West. I haven't had a conversation with him yet, but he is aware of it. So I don't have anything picked out to share with you, but we have some time.
Okay.
Would the new light poles be able to tie into something like that, so that we're not like blasting those squares right in front of them?
I would probably not tie in. I think the program itself is limited to a laptop and its own program.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
So you could run like a playlist
Yeah.
or an emergency broadcast, but.
I think like
That's
during,
This system could be used elsewhere. too.
yeah, I think we would probably keep the 2 separate. Now, I'm not saying that we couldn't in the future, I just think for security purposes and to ensure that we don't get that system in the wrong hands, the limitations of crossing over is probably where we'll start and go from there.
Yeah,
But I will vouch for the need for it. They were singing and then it would just blank out for a period of time, and then you'd hear them again and they'd be talking,
Sure.
you know, like
That's
that.
frustrating.
yeah, that's
It was
just,
frustrating, and then in order to counteract it, what they did was turn the one speaker on and the other off, and it got them through the day.
yeah.
But listen,
That system is 12 years old at least, and has been used for many events.
Yeah.
Moved and transported and so forth, so,
Joe used to a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Any questions or comments from that? Parks and Rec report?
Paul, did you have something?
I asked,
Oh, yeah.
you answered it.
Okay.
The park inventory.
Got it, thank you, okay.
Grace sent us her library report.
She
Ready for something,
continues to do a great job. Please pass that on.
She has a speaker tomorrow night that I knew opened the country in my community, but I did not realize he wrote a book. And I'm going to catch that author speech
I
tomorrow
heard
night.
that story was great.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. catch it tomorrow. I think that takes care of our reports to be filed. Mayor, council, administrator reports, mayor's report. I mentioned three things. There's a ribbon cutting for the Roundabout Auto, which is at the roundabout, first week of June. So it's good to see the improvements that have been made there and that are going to continue there. And I'm glad to have someone in that spot. The second thing is that I'm going to try to attend the State of the County talk on Thursday, put on by our supervisor. But represent Mount Vernon and an opportunity to catch that. The third thing, just letting everybody know in the area of childcare that the Hall Pride Foundation did get back to me to say that they are tabling our initial request at this point for looking for a lead donor on a site for childcare. So while it's disappointing that they're not stepping up in a big way, in conversations, I think they will. The fact that it was tabled and we had a lot of discussion along the line, they're very much aware that this is a big project, big ask. I don't think they want to be the lead donor with $1 million or $2 million or whatever.
That's right. I was just going to ask, what constitutes lead donor in terms of money in their mind?
In our mind, it was what?
I don't know that they have a lead donor specifically in their mind. I think the lead donor for us, based upon the precedent that was set at the LBC, would be $1 million.
But this is 2.5 times more expensive
Yes.
than the LDC, so 2 to 3 million.
Well, yeah, if anybody's got a couple $1 million sitting around, I'd glad to take it.
They wanted to engage.
Right.
Yeah. But it's definitely not a hard no, so hanging on to that, and met with Chris before this meeting, and we've got some other alternatives that we're going to work out beginning tomorrow, so take it from there. So those are the three things I was going to just mention as far as manager's report. Any council reports, committee reports?
With regards to child care, three things. The child care solutions team distributed $13,000 worth of Gary's gift cards last week. Nathan covered it for us, which was great, but it was at the LECC and Kids Club, and there were 84 workers. They were full-time and part-time and high school students that received a gift card of some kind. And I will be participating, along with maybe a couple others from the team, in an update from the Iowa Women's Foundation on Wednesday morning. They used to do regular updates, and then the person that had been doing them moved on to Health and Human Services, and she's been replaced. And so we'll meet her for the first time this Wednesday via Zoom for an update about all things child care happening through legislature, the Senate, what they passed, what they didn't pass, and so on. We'll get that update on Wednesday. And then the solutions team will meet on Wednesday. And the one thing that I think council would be interested in knowing is that the Child Care Solutions Group has raised $110,000 and distributed north of $80,000. And to do that, because we're not a 501(c), we had to have a fiscal agent. Southeast Lynn served as our fiscal agent and did a wonderful job of that, but it was time for Nicole to do her own job and at Southeast Lynn, and so the CDG has graciously agreed to be our fiscal agent, and Jessica's going to take that on. So,
Thank you, Craig. Any questions, Craig? Other items to share with the rest of the council? Anything else needs to come before this meeting? Otherwise, thank you, staff, thank you, council, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
See you anywhere.